of these meetings on the co-create option, where you can sort of have different meetings and different people on various platforms in the meeting itself. And so it started off by giving us insights during the meetings. And that was something that we found really useful, because it would help us steer the conversations in a lot more effective manner and in a more purposeful way. And a lot of the things which maybe in the moment you're not thinking about when you're talking or when you're interacting with people, Apurva sort of started pushing us towards that by probing us into those directions. So that is where one of the first things that we started doing while using the platform. Then of course there are the summaries at the end of the meetings itself that we get. So just in terms of having a really quick output of minutes just to keep in a record itself is something really useful. The other thing that we think is super useful is that it becomes an entire repository of information and a means to organize all the information that we already have within the organization. So SELCO Foundation itself it sees itself as an ecosystem builder, which basically means that all the information and all the kind of knowledge that we're creating over here, ideally we'd like for it to go out. But before that, there is this giant step of actually organizing all of that information and sort of synthesizing it for ourselves. So Apurva becomes a really good platform to do that, and we're also going through this process of, while we are uploading this kind of information onto the portal, we're also understanding for ourselves what that information means to us. So that kind of repository is something that is really interesting for us to have as well. And so these are some of the kind of use cases that I have found from the co-create channel. And of course there is the entire wisdom portal as well, where we have put up all this information, and now we can use all these various features to better look at the information, analyze the information, really put it into this sort of systemic thinking processes that we have as well. So yes, using it as a repository, using it to summarize, using it as a better partner in a meeting itself, and and trying to ask more questions and really looking at that information from a more ecosystem perspective. I think when I think about where were the more like impactful use cases of Apurva in a very real time situation, is when she started asking more systems thinking questions than I was able to in the meeting itself. So really looking at things in a lot more in a comprehensive manner, because while we're looking at program planning and program design, a lot of the time the conversations tend to get skewed towards a particular direction. That's just the way maybe the nature of the conversation is sort of heading towards. But with Apurva there's almost like there's a buddy or a checklist that is very much directing you towards having a much more comprehensive conversation and making sure that you're looking at various other things as well. So one of the aha moments was in that regard, where the conversation was going towards what is technology and what are the various technological solutions that we are trying to look at. But then Apurva was like, but are we really also thinking about what is the enabling environment for that itself? So what was maybe the training required to even have the technology in place, or the policies to have in place for those technologies to even grow? And that is something very core to the kind of thinking we do over here. So it was really good to see that something which has an artificial intelligence is essentially giving a really good input, a very solid input to a meeting of ours. So at SELCO Foundation, we have a lot of interactions with each other very naturally. So being an ecosystem partner, the reason why I'm bringing maybe this terminology into it is it has partnership at the very core of it. So even within our teams, now the development sector is full of these complex problems, or like wicked problems as we like to call them, which basically do not look at things in a very single-minded approach. You have to look at everything in a more like some of its part kind of a way. So that way, even within our organization, it's structured in a way where we have to talk to each other a lot and learn from each other a lot. So it was very easy to sort of incorporate Apurva into certain kinds of meetings. So we also sat down and thought about what are the various types of information that we would want Apurva to have in her brain and therefore help us think through things. So we categorized that information, very naturally found people within the organization that could provide that information to further feed Apurva's brain. So that way we kind of tagged people along with the thinking thought process that we wanted Apurva to adopt, and we sort of enabled like a miking system for them itself. Apart from that, we do have a lot of external partners and we work very directly in implementation as well. So again, just being very specific about what is the kind of context that we wanted Apurva to be a part of, really deciding in real time who those people are going to be, and very realistically getting that information on board. We also did a whole training session where we explained to people how to use Apurva, what are the protocols that we need to follow while taking this information. So while those information settings are very natural to us, we were also very cognizant of the fact that we have a particular task to do at hand when we are involving Apurva in the meetings. So just in various ways of incorporating Apurva into already existing structures of the organization in a more meaningful manner. Before Apurva, I would say we had more answers and a couple of questions, but after Apurva, I would say we have a lot more questions and more pointed ones at that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Things, and for me analysis comes from asking the right questions. So if you're not doing that for the organization, then we're not going to be looking at the causal effects of what the right solution is. So there will always be a problem solution misfit if we're not looking at the problem in the way that it's supposed to be looked at. So I think Apurva really helps us do that and account for all the various perspectives to really figure out what is that problem statement and then design a program, then create a partnership. So definitely asking more questions, and the right ones are a very good starting point for any sort of program design. Like doubting technology at the same time being like at the forefront of hardware technology, and now we're sort of embracing software technology as well. So maybe it's like looking at two different sides of the same coin in that sense. Just the fact that a lot of the time we're maybe a little apprehensive about what AI can do, but at the same time we really need to acknowledge the power of AI and the power of these futuristic solutions to transform scale in terms of magnitude, in terms of speed, and so just really acknowledging that. And since SELCO Foundation is also in the space of innovation, we're happy to embrace that with us as a partnership as well.